Hi, my name is Isla Long, and today I would like to share with you just a little bit of what God has shared with me about His heart. This one day I was just finishing up fast and just wanted to rest for a little while, so I told my husband, wake me up in 20 minutes if I fall asleep, but I don't want to sleep, I just want to rest. And I went back to the bedroom. And as I laid on my bed and looked up into the ceiling, I could see two nail pops, and as I stared at them, faces began to develop around them, and they became eyes, and I began seeing different faces, nationalities, ages, sexes. Didn't last too long. It was only like a minute or two, so it wasn't a lot of faces, but I couldn't quite grasp what that was all about because I've never been a person to receive visions. I know God gives people visions. I just haven't been one of those people. So didn't quite know what it all meant. The following day, my husband and I are going golfing, and we're pretty competitive. I mean, we play for back rubs. This is important stuff, and foot rubs. And so anyway, this day I'm beating Roy, and we're about 3/4 of the way through the round of golf, and he said, I'm just not enjoying myself at all. And I can't explain how those words just cut to the inner being of my heart. And it was like, oh Lord, he works all week long and very hard, and I just want him to enjoy himself when he can, and so would you please do something to help him get his stroke back together? And I think I sort of bit my lip and said, even if it means he beats me. And it's very strange how God works, because my games start falling apart, and I would never purposely do that because that's kind of like cheating. But my game started falling apart, and he started hitting his ball better. And on the last hole, it's par 5, and he birdied it. He's never birdied it before and never birdied it since, and he beat me by 1 stroke. And instead of my Lord saying, that was really dumb, that was a dumb prayer, he spoke to me and he said, Isla, if you feel that way about somebody you love over a silly game, how do you think I feel about my people, the world I created? Wow, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine the depth of the love of Christ. And we think we do, but we really don't. I know one time I asked God to give me His heart for His people, and I found out very quickly that I couldn't handle it. I want to share with you another story. I was at my church. Our pastor, John Gelder, had called for a 40-day juice fast, and I wanted to try it. So against my husband's better judgment, he said I could do it as long as I watched very closely. And I was about 2.5 weeks into the fast and doing quite well. I was in the church parking lot, and I was parked in the south lot and leaving to go to my house. And I got as far as north lot, and the Lord told me to pull in. And it's like, really, Lord, I'm supposed to be home at a certain time to go out with my uncle who was in from California, and my husband were going to go out for breakfast, and they wanted me to go. So anyway, I was obedient, and I went inside the building, and I said, Lord, what am I doing here? What do you want me to do? And He directed me to go into our children worship center that was just off to my right, very close. So I walked in the room, and He said, I want you to tell a new story. And it's like, what new story? I don't know a new story. So I just sat down where the children would sit, and I looked at the shelves, and off to my left there was Noah's Ark, and there was water that was supposed to be for that story, and there was a puzzle, and the Lord told me to bring them both back to where I was centered, so I brought them back. And then as I looked ahead, the shelf with the Christ candle and the snuffer and the matches, and there was another puzzle there that the Lord told me to bring back to where I was sitting, so I brought them all back. And when you tell a story in children worship, you kind of smooth out the material, whatever material you're working with. So I began to smooth that blue felt out, and as I did, the Lord said, put the Christ candle under it. So I put the pedestal, the Christ candle underneath the felt, then the felt, and then the Christ candle on top of the felt, and I lit the Christ candle. And somehow it just changed that water from Noah's Ark to the firmament of the sky, and Christ seated on his throne, wherever that is. And then he told me to pick up the puzzle. So it was a 100-piece puzzle. When I picked it up, the pieces kind of rattled in it, and I moved it around. And the Lord said to me, Isla, people's lives are like that puzzle. They're broken, separated, hurting, and I want them to bring the pieces of their puzzle into my light so that I can help them to put the puzzle back together again. And then he had me take the small puzzle, it was only like a 6 or 8 piece puzzle, and put it together as I brought the pieces into his light. And when I finished, it was a picture of the manger scene, nativity scene. And I heard the Lord say, as people bring the pieces of their puzzle into my light, some are going to see me as the baby in the manger. Some are going to see me as the Good Shepherd. And then some are going to see me as the Lord of Lords and King of Kings. So to me, because this was a church fast, to me that was a message for Grace Church, that we were to minister to the lost and to the hurting. And oh my goodness, these many years later, I see that as we have Celebrate Recovery, and people come in to receive healing of their hurts and habits and hang-ups. We also have the community meal program, which people come in, and not only do they come in for food and for clothing, but they just come in to share and to talk. And then we have a Set Free ministry, where if people are serious about wanting to get rid of the junk in their life, they can come, and we have people that will pray with them and walk them through steps of freedom. So it definitely was a call on Grace Church, but I think it's a call on the church in general. You know, there are people that are lost and hurt and broken, and the Church of Jesus Christ needs to reach out and to minister to them. I had another time when I was at a conference where we were asked to take a quiet time and just step aside and ask the Lord if there's anything he wants to tell us. And so I found a quiet place and was before the Lord and had my eyes closed and just saying, Lord, is there anything you want to say to me? And he said, look to the right. And so I looked to the right with my eyes closed and said, the harvest field is ready. He said, look to the left. And so I looked to the left. And he said, the harvest field is ready. And then he said, look straight ahead. So I looked straight ahead. And he said, the harvest field is ready. Yeah, there's going to be tares. Not everybody's going to listen. There's going to be weeds out there. And not every seed has borne a crop. But I want my church to go into the harvest field. Lord had spoken to me other times about the harvest field when I would be out and just walking and see a cornfield a couple times in the fall when it was ripe and ready. And the Lord would say, the harvest is ready. church. He needs people to step into the harvest field. That's you, that's me, so that we can touch a lost and hurting world. Another time I was at a conference, and it was dark. I don't remember if it was late night or early morning, but anyway, I went out to walk and just be alone, and it was dark, and it had just rain. The pavement was wet, the blacktop was wet, the lights were shining on the blacktop, and oh my goodness, there was like little sparkly things, those little pieces of glass that's in blacktop, and they were just sparkling all over. And I looked up into the sky, and the sky was just full of stars. And it's like, oh my goodness. And I think I twirled around a couple times and said, Lord, I feel like I'm walking among the stars. This is so awesome. And he spoke to me and he said, Isla, as the stars of the sky, so am I calling my people back to myself. So I guess in this video, what I want to say is, church, are we ready? Are we ready to reach out into that harvest field? It's ready. God's sending people back. And that's why I feel like these 7 principles that Dr. Blackaby talks about in his book are important, not only to us as individuals, but they're important to the church of Jesus Christ. Because I don't think it just talks to us as individuals, but I think it talks to us as a church, to be able to see where God's at work and to join him in that work, whatever it might be. So I challenge each of us as individuals to not be afraid to step out. It might be as simple as a phone call to someone, or turning here when you want to go somewhere else. Whatever it is, however God is speaking to us about touching people for him, we need to be aware. We need to listen. We need to step into it. And I know Grace Church is more and more trying to get to that place where we can hear God, that we're not stepping out and doing things on our own, but we want to have listening ears and do what God is leading us to do. So I pray that for you too. Thank you so much for joining me.